Now, for the man of the hour, Michael Levitt with Breakfast Leadership brings people back to life, focused on helping individuals and leaders within corporations relearn boundaries in their work and personal lives so they can accomplish more by doing less, which will save their careers and possibly their lives. Michael lost his health, his job, his car, and his home, all in 369 days. Michael teaches people on how that happened to him so they can make the crucial changes in their lives to prevent those losses from happening to them. Now, Michael, you ready to rock this, brother? He's ready. Awesome, dude. I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today, bro. We appreciate you, and thanks for coming to share with our audience about all your wisdom and what you're doing over at Breakfast Leadership, man. Thank you.
I'm thankful to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to dive right into the theme of the day, which today is Every Day is Birthday, and that's because my birthday is tomorrow, and I want everyone to understand the perspective that you don't have to wait every year to celebrate being alive. So that's why I chose to make this topic and this theme. So I'm curious, Michael, how has this concept of being able to be born, rebirth, to choose your destiny every single day, every single moment when you wake up, how has that impacted you? How has that shaped your life?
It's funny. I saw something this morning on Instagram, and they said every day they have two gifts happen when they first wake up. Both of their eyes open, and that is an ultimate gift. I, as we know, and we let off the top, lost everything. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because it allowed me to get reborn, rebirth myself, and design my life the way that's best for me. Is that selfish? Maybe. But you know what? If I am giving of my best and I'm at my best when I'm helping people, they're getting my best. And they're not getting, half energy or no energy or burned out or anything else. Right. So every day is a great way to celebrate. And I think as people, we don't celebrate anywhere near the amount that we used to.
Amen.
And we're losing that opportunity. And I think every day has an opportunity to celebrate a variety of things, not just one thing, but from waking up and having the opportunity to do what you do, no matter what your career is, you have an opportunity to do that. Someone chose you because they felt you were the right person to do that role, and you are. And that's a gift.
Wow. That's amazing, man. I love how passionate you are about this, about the opportunity to begin again, the opportunity to celebrate, the opportunity to really be present in the moment and see all that we have, all the opportunity, all the access that we have with wherever we're at in life, and it's beautiful. So thanks so much for sharing your perspective on that. I'm sure we'll be diving in and out of that kind of concept and theme throughout this interview. And Michael, why don't we share a little bit more with our audience, our listeners, about Breakfast Leadership and what you do there and what's going on, man?
Yep. Launched Breakfast Leadership a couple years ago because after my significant losses and rebuilding myself and being born again to a new version of me, I learned how to master life. I knew how to structure my days. I know how to spend my time. I know where my energy levels go throughout the day. So I match the things that I do with where my energy levels are. And mastering that and figuring out how I tick was a great gift to myself. It's just figuring out, okay, how do I do this? The reason why I launched the organization was because I was seeing so many people go down the same path that I did that led to those 369 days. And it scared the crap out of me. Like, okay, something's got to be done about this. So I literally just started documenting everything that I did and looked for patterns and rhythms to see if there was, some type of magical formula where this works. And it turns out where, my life is awesome. Results may vary, but for people, it boils down to, okay, what's your ideal life? Where are you at now? Let's connect the dots.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you have control of that. It's control on how you spend your time. It's control on who's in your life, who's not in your life, all kinds of different factors. But ultimately, when you figure this out and you actually start living the life that you want and doing the things you want to do, it's amazing how much you can accomplish. And you're working on things and working with people that you want to work with and you enjoy working with. It's amazing. I still get butterflies from time to time when I'm working with a client or somebody that is seeing the light and going, okay, I just made this simple tweak, and all of a sudden I found 5 hours of my time back.
Boom.
And they're like, 5 hours. What am I going to do with that? Something productive, I hope, or something fun that energizes you. Go to a concert, go to a ball game. I don't care. It's your time. You do whatever you want to with it, but don't do work. If you found it, well, or do the right work, whatever. Whatever. If you're an entrepreneur, that's like, just blow that off. You don't need to do that. It's the funny thing is, when I launched it, and it's again over these first couple years, my focus has been on the infrastructure side of things, because I think a lot of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs are going, okay, get that product offering out. Let's start moving it. Let's start getting clients, doing all of that. I chose to let's get the back office set up. Maybe that's the reformed accountant in me, it's getting, all the accounting and the back office all taken care of. So once you start working with people, all that stuff is there. It's working. And you don't have to go, what software can I use to generate an invoice? How am I going to get paid? And you start doing all these exercises, like, let's get all that stuff sorted out first and test it. Charge your brother $1 or something, and see how it works and see if you actually get the money or not. You do all of those things and it makes it easier. So, long story short, the reason why I launched is because I was scared of what was happening to people, and I wanted to have something in place where they could take control of their life again and start living the life that they choose to live and avoid that burnout, because when you're burned out, it's a bad scene. It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to be diving into boundaries or burnout, which do we choose, and teaching our audience to choose more wisely and notice and discern and have the distinctions that give them awareness of where they at, which direction are they heading. And before we go there, I want to go back into the past a little bit to those 369 days that changed everything for you, because without those, who knows where you'd be? Without those, who knows how different your life would be? But you had those, that kind of like breakdown and rock bottom moment. So take us there and just give us the overview, what happened, and the wisdom that you gained from it, man.
Yep. So back in 2007, I was hired as executive director for a startup medical clinic just outside of Windsor, Ontario. I'm from the States. I'm also a Canadian citizen. So as I like to joke, I can vote and screw up 2 countries, but that's where my political commentary will end. Let's not isolate our audience already. So startup organization, healthcare. I had 0 healthcare experience, but I had startup experience in my previous life. So they brought me in to help build this clinic, recruit physicians, hire staff, navigate a clinic site relocation 6 weeks prior to the clinic opening date. And all of these things. So tons of hours, tons of emails, just going at it, learning how to do the job, learning how to talk the talk, work with our funding organizations, and all of these things. So did that and did it for a couple years and was constantly on the gas pedal, wasn't letting up. I was getting emails from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. at night, 7 days a week. So I was constantly working. I never really shut down. Fall of 2008, my board of directors, who I reported to, noticed that I was getting pretty agitated. And even I think the staff probably tipped them off. So I was grumpy and just not myself. So they said, we want you to take a week off in addition to your normal vacation time, but take a week off and don't work. And I should have seen that as an ultimate warning sign of what was about to happen, but I didn't. I went to the library during that week to try to, read a book and just unwind a little bit. And years ago, before college, university, and all of that, I loved to read. I'd read all the time.
Yeah.
I'd kind of fallen away from that because all my reading was dedicated to textbooks and learning my career and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the library, grabbed a book. I don't remember which book it was. I wish I did, because I'd want to read it now. But I grabbed the book, sat down in a comfy chair, and tried to read. I couldn't relax myself enough to actually sit down and read. My mind was going in so many different directions. So after about 10 minutes, I said, this is foolish. So I put the book away and left. Fast forward to May of that year. I had some chest pains in the center of my chest after mowing the front lawn of my house. I thought I'd pulled a muscle. And that was on a Monday. And it only bothered me if I lifted anything heavy with my right arm. But that Friday, the pain was persistent. It was constantly working. Now, I was working at a medical clinic, so I told the physician, I'm having some uncomfort, some discomfort here. So I said, well, let's listen. So he listened to my heart, and he said, you know what? Just to be safe, why don't we check it out? Now, we had a portable EKG unit, ironically, which I purchased. And they hooked me up to it and ran the test, and they looked perplexed. So they ran the test again, and they got the same results. Now, at this point, I'm not worried about anything going on with my body or potential heart attack or anything like that. I was still just freaked out that I had to take my clothes off in front of my coworkers. Here I am, in my boxers, or in front of my nurse and other people, and they're walking in. How's it going? Reception. Hey, it's like, yeah, there's the boss, basically down to his underwear laying on a table. Like, yeah, I'm like, this was uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So they ran the tests and they did all this, and then they sent the report to the cardiologist at a hospital in Windsor. And they looked at it and called back, and they said, tell Michael to get his butt to the hospital right now. I went, ooh, that's interesting. Then they called back 2 minutes later and say, tell Michael he cannot drive to the hospital.
Wow.
Even more interesting. So, long story short, I had a heart attack. I had 2 significant blockages in the left anterior descending artery, which is nicknamed the Widowmaker, because typically when that artery is completely blocked, you die.
Wow.
I'm still here.
Yes.
So very, very, very fortunate. And ironically, I just had my annual cardiac checkup a couple days ago, and everything is working, knock on wood, perfectly. Heart's doing well. Everything's awesome in that. So that was the first domino. Mm-hmm. So that was the start of 369 days. Mm-hmm. After recovering from my heart attack, I went back to work to find out that I was no longer wanted to be at that organization. There were some mistakes that I'd made prior to my cardiac event, which that organization felt warranted me not being there anymore.
Wow.
So here I am. It's 2009. As a reminder for everybody, that was on the tail end of that was a little economic recession back in 2008, mm-hmm. where people were losing their houses and the government was bailing out the auto sector and all of those things. Mm-hmm. When you're in Windsor, Ontario, and that's a border town to Detroit, Michigan, the economy was absolute garbage. So there was no real jobs to be found. And the ones that where I would be able to apply for, those people were not going anywhere. They were staying put. Right. So it took me almost a year to find a job. And I ended up relocating to Toronto, where it's one of those cities that I don't want to say is recession proof, but it's pretty close because of the diverse types of businesses that are here and all of that. So if one sector is suffering, another one's not.
Okay.
So find the job up here. In the meantime, so you figure I had the heart attack, lost my job, finally found a job, moved up here, was up here for a few weeks. Then I got a phone call from home, and my oldest daughter was on the phone crying, couldn't understand a thing she was saying. Finally, she calmed down enough that I could figure out that the bank had repossessed the family vehicle. Wow. Now, mind you, I was unemployed for almost a year, so unemployment ran out, and when you have a little bit of money coming in, you have a choice of food, car payment. Sustainability, food. Plus I was also a heart attack kid, so I was on medication that was costing me close to $700 a month because the insurance through my employer had ran out.
That's crazy.
So here I am, without a job, $700 bill on top of mortgage, car payment, all this other stuff. So you had to make choices. Thankfully, I had the job, so I was like, okay, well, now we're going to start, getting back on our feet and start paying back these past due amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get that opportunity with the vehicle. Found a place to rent up in Toronto, so we moved up, and after we unpacked everything, we realized that we left the bunk bed ladder for our girls back at the old house. I was going back to Michigan in a couple of weeks to visit my brother, so I said I'll swing by the house and grab it because we were about ready to put the house on the market to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So I visit my brother and then head back to the house, and I open up the screen door and I see the largest padlock I've ever seen in my life on the front door with a small note that said that the house was in foreclosure.
Wow.
So I called up to Toronto and said, yeah, about that bunk bed ladder. Not going to be able to get it. And I'm going to call the realtor and say, yeah, we're not going to go with you to sell the house because the bank actually has taken it. So work with them and go from there. But as I tell people, when I open the screen door and I saw that lock and the note, and it throws people off when I say this, but it was the greatest amount of peace that I've ever experienced in my life to this day.
Wow.
I've never felt any more peace than at that moment because I realized, okay, that was it. Heart attack, survived, lost a job, got a new job, lost a vehicle, had another vehicle, so we were good there. Lost our home, had a place to live. So everything was covered. Like, okay. I knew at that point that no matter what was going to happen in my life from that point forward, that I had the tools to be able to navigate through all of those changes and challenges. And so when things happen now that rise up and I see other people really getting upset or worried or freaking out, I tend to be a lot calmer. And, first they accuse me of being on some kind of medication, which I'm on heart medication still a little bit, but not nowhere near what I used to be. So, but that stuff doesn't sedate you where you're like, like you hit up 420 or something. It's just like, you're like, I'm good. Just because I know how to navigate through these challenges. You just get the facts, you do what you need to do, dust yourself off, continue. And it's made a huge difference in how I approach life. And also, I look back at, how I was, prior to that heart attack, burned out, stressed, not able to really manage my time, not being able to have the boundaries in my life to say no to things and say, no, I'm not checking emails at night and the weekends because I don't need to.
Right.
My dad worked for one of the auto sectors. He worked on the line for a good chunk of his career. And I use the analogy. It's like, okay, when he went home, he wasn't still, drilling in the tires and the wheels. He was home.
Yeah.
We didn't have an assembly line in our house. It was like, so he was done working. And I think many of us, especially with technology and cell phones and everything else, is we have to police ourselves to stop working. And it's hard. I know it's hard because we see the little red light on our cell phone. We go, ooh, I have to react to that. And it's like, get rid of red light. I had a REM pager years ago. So, when that thing was blinking, that was annoying. So it's like, I got to get rid of that light. There's a message. I have to react. It's, it's like mouse, cheese, button, cheese. It's the same analogy.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, what were the thoughts or what was your perspective to get through the most difficult moments? I know you mentioned at the end you felt that extraordinary sense of peace, but what did you have to see or recognize or believe to be able to get through the other situations effectively without breaking down?
It took a lot of fortitude within, a lot of strength, a lot of understanding that one, I wasn't alone, that other people had been in situations, whether, a health scare or job losses, all of those things. I knew I wasn't alone. So that, and oftentimes when you're going through some bad situations, that's the common thought is I'm the only person on the planet that's going through this, or you're so down that you can't see the rest of the world. So I made it a point to be really driven, one, after the heart attack, to recover. It's like, okay, I'm going to listen to the physicians and do what they say to do. Go to the cardiac rehab, get on the treadmill, start exercising, be more active, watch what I'm eating, all of those things. So that helped. And then I got my energy back after a period of time. And then secondly, the frustration of the job was frustrating, but I treated my job search like it was a job, which it is. If you're not working, then yeah, you should probably be looking for a job 40 hours a week, really, and be focused on it. And I was going on all kinds of interviews and traveling all over the place. We looked, in Detroit. I used to live in Chicago for a while, so looked there, and it was just a tough market at that particular point.
Right.
So for me to be able to, I wasn't looking at Toronto at the time. I didn't really want to work or live in Toronto at that moment, but I had to open up that avenue because I'm like, okay, I kind of need to work here. So I was able to find something as soon as I just started to look at Toronto. I mean, within a couple of weeks, I had 3 or 4 interviews and had a job offer right away. And so I was like, my first thing is like, crap, I should have done that last fall, and it would have been a lot easier to go through it, but the position wasn't available at that time. So who's to say? But I think ultimately it was just a case of just getting up every morning, realizing that there was a purpose for me to still be there. Because I knew, right then, my cardiologist told me, he said, you were very lucky to be here.
Yeah.
So I knew in the hospital how fortunate I was. So I used that as okay, my work's not done. I'm supposed to do something. I'm not sure what yet. I'll figure that out. But at least approach each day, as we let off with, as a gift. It's like, my eyes open up. I'm alive. Okay, let's make a contribution. Let's do something. And it really helped me get through that, because a lot of people thought, and even, close family and friends said, you're very upbeat about what happened to you. I'm like, yeah, I am. Because I could have chosen to play the victim.
Right.
Woe is me. They fired me. All those bad food choices, that's not my fault. It's the food company's fault. No. I'm the common denominator in all of those losses. Me. I had responsibility for it. Were there other impacts and factors? Of course. But I'm the one responsible for how I take care of me. And I didn't. And thankfully, I had a second chance to try again. And not many people do. So
you're sharing you're sharing this journey, your own journey, and like what happened to you, which is a really powerful way to have people see the consequences of them not taking full responsibility, really having them step up to the plate. Is there anything else that you can recommend or share with our listeners that might help them step into that power, the power of responsibility, the power of saying, you know what, my life isn't going where I want it to go. I'm not happy. I'm not proud about it, but I'm going to take control and start changing the direction.
Yeah, the big thing is try not to change everything at once, because it's too much to take on. You really have to look at from how you start off each day. I'm a big fan of starting off each day the right way.
Yeah.
With proper exercise, nutrition, be consistent when you wake up. I know a lot of people love to sleep in. I get it. But my bedroom faces the east, and the sun right now at this time of year rises, pretty much before 5 a.m. So
awesome.
Sleeping in is not an option. It's great. Winter is not the same. It's like, but, summertime, it's great.
Yeah.
So start off, be consistent, and also to really get a good understanding of how you're spending your time. Now, I'm not about to start grilling people for the number of hours that they're camped out on Netflix or any other service. I'm not. That's up to you. That's how you spend your time. It's your time, however you want to do it. If that re-energizes you and helps you in your line of work or your vocation, whatever the case may be, go crazy. That's fine. I watch television too. I watch sporting events. I have this tendency to flip on a baseball game when there's a no-hitter on, and then the no-hitter ends. So I'm surprised Major League Baseball hasn't banned me from watching and, cancel my at-bat account. Because, I mean, the last 3 or 4 games, there's like no-hitter going into it. I flip it on. Oh, base hit. I'm like, I got to quit watching these. I feel bad because it's like I'm 4 for 4 this season. So I'm like, yeah, I think I may need to skip the next one.
Yeah.
but get crystal clear on how you're tracking your time. And an exercise that I do with people when they're in their workspace is, okay, track your time, track your energy levels throughout the day, and see if there's some patterns on how we can match the work with the energy level. Because if you're energetic in the morning and you're better to do tasks in the morning, then set up your morning to work on 2 or 3 things. Yeah. And then the afternoon can be for meetings, calls, follow-ups, whatever type of thing you do. So match your energy levels if you can. I mean, if you're on an assembly line, you can't say, oh, it's doors at 3 o'clock. I don't have the energy for them, but I have doors that I'd rather have it doors at 10 a.m. The assembly line's a bad analogy, but for many people, they do have a choice in how, when they work on certain things. Of course, we all have deadlines and whatnot, but that helps. And then the scary thing I have people do is just like track your interruptions. And that includes people calling you, showing up at your desk, all those little red lights on your cell phone. Those are all interruptions. And you start tracking all of them through the day, you'll realize I've been interrupted 72 times today.
Dang.
And you're like, what in the world? Wow. And you go, okay, what can I do to control that? And once you start doing that and getting into, Cal Newport wrote a book about deep work. Once you get into your deep work, then you start accomplishing more things, and you start finishing things, and that to-do list stops looking like a CVS receipt, and it just starts, getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Wow, that's amazing. So I heard a couple different suggestions that you made about tracking your time, tracking your energy levels. These are all like really great fundamental things for people to just start having awareness and start getting their power back, getting control over their day and their productivity. Let's go back to the breakfast leadership, because I'm sure in that philosophy, in what you wanted to create with that, all these exercises started showing up for you, and you started collecting a series of them, so to speak, and an array, an arsenal of these to use whenever you're facing a problem. So with breakfast leadership, tell us more about like what is the main intention with that and how it's facilitating the listeners to be better leaders and step into their power.
The name Breakfast Leadership came to me when I started thinking about executives and leaders. And oftentimes I find that the best time to get a hold of them or get their attention is first thing in the morning before they start their day.
Yes.
Because once they get into their work mode, it is very challenging to get them out of it, whether it's their full attention. Because once they're in the office or once they're in work mode, as an executive, one of the roles you have is direction, and you're visionary, and you're looking at all of the things that are going on, and analyzing reports and figuring out, okay, what direction should we make on this particular decision. Right. First thing in the morning, if you're reading my blog posts or listening to my podcast or at an event that I'm holding, it's purposely in the morning. It's purposely with breakfast because it's an opportunity to come in and you go, all right, let's start talking about some simple, quick win things. Because I find I can give somebody, a 150-page manual. Here you go. Here's how to get your time back. It's going to collect dust like those 300 ebooks that you have in your download folder on your computer.
Yep.
I have them, and there's some gold in there. They're great stuff. Right. And I've actually I'm scheduling in a couple of weeks. I'm going to carve out maybe like an hour a day or maybe a couple hours during the week. And I'm just going to go through that folder. And I'm going to skim them and see, okay, what's in here that can benefit either myself or, clients or people that I know. But that was the premise of breakfast leadership, is like, okay, let's get them first thing in the morning, start their day off right. And then when they are in their roles,
Mm.
they have a better chance of being able to operate within the walls of proper boundaries for them and how they want to do their job. Because once you're at that level, you should have autonomy in how you do your job.
Mm.
And what I'm finding too with a lot of the C-suite people is they've rose through the ranks. They're now the CEO or COO or highly ranking in their organization,
Mm-hmm.
and they hate their job.
Mm.
I'm like, this is the job you wanted. You have it. Why do you hate it? And that's when you start peeling that onion and you go, okay, there's all kinds of facets in there. It can be the environment isn't right, or
Mm.
oftentimes, unfortunately, when managers get promoted and they end up becoming an executive, for years they've been rising through the ranks because they've been really good at doing things. So they've
Mm.
been doing things.
Mm.
And once they get to that senior level, they don't are not supposed to be doing as much as more as
Yeah.
directing. And that's not a skill that many organizations, unfortunately, invest in their
Mm.
people. So it's self-investment. You have to kind of figure it out on your own. It's
Wow.
kind of like being a parent. It's like, okay, here you go. Here's the paperwork. Good luck. And go, okay. Still
Yeah.
figuring it out. I've got a 19, 16, and 15-year-old. I'm still figuring it out. So,
Wow.
but it happens.
It happens. I love it. And that's so true because entrepreneurs have to, at the very beginning, do everything. That's the nature of being an entrepreneur. You got to be a chief cook and bottle washer. You got to do it all because if you don't do it, then it falls through the cracks and there's nobody to blame. There's no one to point that responsibility at but yourself. So I love that as they rise through the ranks, nobody has yet, or there's not effective enough processes to groom them on how to let go, on how to say, here's what I want, go do it. And
Yep.
to support their team, and how do they support their team? What does that support look like? So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your take on that and how to do that more effectively.
Yeah, one of the things, especially that led to my burnout, was I absolutely sucked at delegation. Horrible. Was horrible at it. And it's like, well, and everyone has this. I can do it faster or
Yep.
quote unquote better than they
Yep.
can.
Yep.
And what you realize is two things. Number one, you're overloading your workload. You're just making the
Mm.
world a lot harder on yourself. Secondly, you're robbing those people of an opportunity to actually grow and do things. Are they going to make mistakes? Of course. So did you.
Mm-hmm.
But you should at least give them the opportunity to do it and give them the proper training and guidance on how to do it.
Right.
Give them the information they need to do it and have a fighting chance to accomplish it.
Mm.
How they go about doing it may be different than the way you did it, but
Mm.
if the end result is what you're looking for, then don't lose sleep over that. Look for efficiencies and whatnot. And that's a big thing. Now I'm probably, you can ask my assistant this, I'm probably the opposite extreme where now if anything comes across my desk,
Mm.
the first thing I ask myself is, who besides me can do this?
Wow.
If a name comes to mind, it's off my desk.
Mm.
Now, again, you have to balance that and also have an understanding of how much you've delegated, because you say,
Right.
okay, yeah, I'm just going to give it to them to work on it. If you don't remember that you've already given them 25 things this week to work on, all of a sudden that burnout trickles down and
Wow.
all of a sudden you're burning out your key people. Okay, this is not good.
Mm.
So you have to have a real global understanding as to what is going on in your respective organization. If you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur and you've got a small team, yes, there's a lot more heavy lifting because you're starting things up. But again, you really need to be structured on when you're working and have shutdown time. Don't miss out on your kids' soccer practice or those last second concert tickets to a great event or a sporting event. Design your life so you have those opportunities to be able to go to those things, because you know what, if you don't, they go by and that chance may not come up again.
Yeah.
Whether in my situation, my career was second row tickets to a U2 concert. Okay, couldn't go.
Wow.
Had an opportunity and said, no, I'm not going to do it, to go see Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and this was just prior to Stevie Ray Vaughan dying in a helicopter crash.
Wow.
That was in the early 90s. Never going to get to see Stevie Ray Vaughan play. and those start things, once you start naming 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 of those things, you're going, whoa, wait a minute,
Mm,
I'm missing out on life.
mm,
And yeah, work is important, helps things, but we work so we can live, and we do things because we want to serve and help people, but we should also take time to enjoy the things that we enjoy and minimize as much as you can those opportunities from passing you by, if at all possible. Do your best to minimize them.
yeah, I love it. I love it. So delegation is such a critical skill to be able to keep our sanity, and also it's a key part in avoiding burnout and establishing our boundaries. So let's dive into that conversation even more. What do we need to know to be able to maintain our boundaries, to be effective with that, and truly avoid burnout?
A big thing for me was communication,
Mm,
and clearly communicating with your boss or bosses and the team that reports to you,
mm,
whether it's one person or 10, whatever. Get a communication style, understand communication methods they prefer. I've
mm,
had bosses that want to have face-to-face meetings. Awesome. There are some it's like, not just send me an email with updates. If we need to meet, great, perfect. And there's others that are a hybrid of such. And
mm,
understanding what those are helps go a long way with your teams. When you're in a management position, things trickle down. So if you are burned out, that's passing down,
mm,
because people are going to feed off of that, and they're going to go, okay, this is stressful. Then they're going to get stressed. They're
mm,
going to start worrying. And then all of a sudden, you've got a huge situation where an entire department or organization is on the cusp of burnout, or they're just agitated and they don't like their job and they get sick. They
right,
start missing days. It just dominoes.
right.
So it's crucial, to figure out communication styles of your team. What works? Take time to figure out who your team is.
Mm,
Know who your people are, know what makes them tick, know what motivates them.
mhm,
Now people say, well, money motivates. You know what? It does for a brief period of time, but that raise you gave them last year, they spent that last year. It's
mm,
gone.
yep,
They've adjusted accordingly, so that's no longer a motivating factor.
right.
What type of environment do you want to have? What type of organization do you want to have? What type of boss do you want to be?
Mm,
Start asking those internal questions and design yourself the way to do that. And if you don't know how, there's many books, or you can reach out to a lot of people. I'm a huge fan of having coaches.
mhm,
So all coaches should have coaches, leaders should have mentors and coaches to guide them, because there's no sense in trying to figure out all of this on our own.
mm-mm,
Seek guidance from others, and it will help you take the right steps. I'm not a
mm,
big fan of shortcuts. I'm a big fan of taking the right steps.
yeah.
And if you take the right steps, you'll get to your destination a lot faster than you would if you actually took shortcuts, because then you'd have to go back and fix all the things that you missed along the way.
That's powerful.
Hashtag funnels. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, the communication styles, knowing who your people are, that's critical. And really, with the ability to set boundaries, I think an important part is being able to tell people, or like saying no. A big part of boundaries is saying no. So I'm curious what you've found about saying no in terms of boundaries.
I don't know who said this, but I love hearing it and saying it, is no is a complete sentence. And you have to say no to things in order for your yeses that you've said before to actually have a chance to complete.
Wow.
Um, we've heard, colleagues of ours, refer to, shiny object syndrome, where things pop up and like, oh, that looks good. That looks good. And in the entrepreneur world, we see it all the time. It's like,
Definitely.
okay, this is the latest app that'll do this. And oh, this program will take your blog post and turn it into videos, and you're doing that. Next thing you're doing like 15 things,
Mm,
and you're not accomplishing anything. So
mm,
find your road, go down that road, and say, make your yeses be yeses and your nos be nos, and
mm,
have the confidence to be able to say no comfortably, and hopefully the people that are asking respect it, and not try to convince you, well, why not? And you can provide reasoning, but you also have to stay out of respect of my time and the things that I've already promised to others. I have to respectfully decline this
Mm,
opportunity or this project at this time, or now is not the right time. Let's look at this in a month or two.
right.
So the no may not be permanent, but at that particular moment in time, again, going back to the deep work concept, really just drill into the things that you are working on, and try to finish some things, because I think that's another thing that happens with burnout is
Mm,
people's to-do lists keep growing and they're not finishing anything, because they start, we'll do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, but they're not completing anything. Get some of those things finished and off the list, and
mm,
that's where momentum comes in. And then also look at the list and go, is there anything on here that would the world end if I don't do this?
mm,
No? Okay. Well, I'm not going to say delete it off of your list, because that could cause some problems with the boss, but at least prioritize accordingly. And
mm,
learning that skill of being able to prioritize again goes back to communication. With your
mm.
boss saying, "Okay, you've given me 15 things, boss. Which three should I work on right now?"
Yeah.
And then the ball's in their court, and then they go, "Okay, one, two, three," and you get those done, and then it streamlines things, it improves things, and it improves the flow of how you work, how they work, and
Mm.
it's a positive for everybody around.
What would you recommend for entrepreneurs who have 15 things? How do they decide what their top three are?
I think for me, and I do this, on a daily basis, is I pick two or three things that I'm going to work on a given day.
Okay.
Yes, there's 15 things. It's like, okay, I need to record a podcast episode. Okay, I got to do a blog post. Okay, I've got that follow up call with somebody, and I got to
Mm,
do that book proposal, or all these things that you could do. And you can, again, start, I'm going to spend 5 minutes on this and 10 minutes on this. Your brain starts getting segmented
mm-hmm.
and pulled apart. And when you're actually sitting down trying to focus on writing a book or getting a proposal together or getting a training session set up, or the podcast or blog, whatever the case is, when you're doing it, do it.
Mm,
Focus on that, and really just focus it and finish it. If you can't finish it for some reason, where you need to cite an article or who knows, then you can at least have a bookmark and go, okay, I can go back to this. Let me
right.
work on the next thing on that list of three. Don't try to do 10 things a day.
Mm,
And that's one thing that really floors a lot of people that have worked too hard and they're workaholic and they're burning out. It's like, okay, pick two or three things to finish today or tomorrow. And they finish them. Okay, I'm done. Okay, what's next? And it's like, how many did you pick today? Three. Have you finished all three? Yep. Okay. So what do we work on next? For the next half hour, 45 minutes? Nothing. What? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? Nothing. I want you to feel what boredom feels like. Remember as
mm.
a kid when we were bored? Yeah. Kids today don't have that problem apparently, but although my middle child sometimes will say she's bored, and I'm like, that's a good thing. That's a good. It allows this thing to do some creativity, and
Ah,
that's it. It's like, okay, now you can just sit down,
mm,
go for a walk, go grab, a water or something. Just don't work. Just take time, and
mm,
then what happens is if you start doing that enough, if you're a leader or entrepreneur, your brain is now relaxed to a state, much like when we're in the shower where all our thoughts start coming in.
right.
It's the same thing. You've relaxed yourself because you're focused on just being, or
Mm,
in the shower case, cleaning up, but you're not really thinking about anything else. That's when your ideas start to come in. And that's
mm,
when you get creative and you start thinking, okay, I could do this, or different approaches of how you do things. And
mm,
it's worked wonders for me when I'm able to just relax
mm,
and be able just to focus on things to come up. And I've had breakthroughs on things that I've been working on, things I've been struggling with,
mhm,
just by pausing and just quoting Bruce Lang for getting mindful about what you're doing.
mhm. Yeah, I love it. So as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, leader, being a leader and trusting yourself to nurture and care for yourself as a leader. And then I also
Mhm.
wanted to know that segued into what does leadership mean to you, Michael? What does that term mean for you?
Leadership for me is having a collection of gifted individuals in their own right, and they can come from all walks of life,
Mm-hmm.
all types of experiences, backgrounds, careers, and all of that, and creating an environment where they can be at their absolute best and they're working at the job that they love to do. They're making a contribution. They feel that they are valued. They feel that they are making a contribution. They feel that their voice is being heard and they have a say in how the organization is running
Mm-hmm.
and can be free to make comments on things that they observe that are against the mission, vision, and values of the organization or things that are going on that they see, because they are the people that are doing the day-to-day stuff. They're the ones seeing things that oftentimes leaders can't see or don't see because of they're in meetings or working on other things, so they may not see it, but they're your eyes and ears and feet within your organization. So creating environments where people can be their absolute best is a great leadership method that I've used, and even to the point where I've told people, and I'll get an email from somebody, and it's like 7 o'clock on a Saturday night, and I'll talk to them on Monday because I won't respond to it. Now, of course, like, why are you checking email 7? Well, I'm like, let me see if there's anything on fire. Okay, nothing's on fire, but I'll see the email. So on Monday morning, I'll have a chat with that person. I'm like, why are you sending emails on Saturday? And now they've learned. They ask me, well, why are you checking emails on Saturday? So we go, okay, touche, that's good, but I don't want you doing any emails or working on a weekend. So it's not part of your job to work at that time of day.
Wow.
Don't write a piece of note. Now, I've done this, where I'll send myself an email and then I'll get mad. Who's sending me an email? Oh, it was me. Like, I've done that. I think we've all done that. But usually I'll send myself, because I have a MacBook at home and at the office I have one too. So I'll send myself a message.
Yeah.
iMessage saying, oh, look at this or do this. So that way, when I get into work and I'm in work mode, I can actually do it. There's reminders, to-do lists. You can do all that stuff. But if it's 5 seconds quick, just a reminder for yourself, that's fine. But otherwise, let it wait during work hours, and don't send emails to your staff at those times. That's another big leadership boo-boo that I think is creating this burnout situation that we're seeing in pretty much every sector. Is there's this expectation that you need to be connected, and to the point where when New York introduces legislation, regulating when employees are supposed to be checking email, New York, the city that never sleeps, has established legislation saying, no, your employees should not be required to check emails after hours.
Wow.
Like, I figured that would have come out of California and then moved its way east, but New York decided to do that. And I'm like, my first reaction when I saw that is like, is this an Onion article? Is this real? Is this fake news or is this real? I'm like, oh, wow. It popped up on multiple sources. I'm like, oh, interesting. Pleased to me to see it. It's like, yeah, don't be sending emails at nights and weekends. Go play, do whatever you need to do.
Awesome. And then we had Laura Stewart Shortridge say, hey, Michael, great to see you. So she said
Likewise,
hi.
Laura. Hi, Laura. Good to see you.
Awesome. Laura's a big fan. She was on the show as well a couple weeks back. So, Laura, we love you. Thanks so much for tuning in today. And, Michael, anything else that we really just have to get to our audience, our listener, right now that will make the biggest difference about boundaries and burnout?
It's okay to be selfish, to make sure that you take care of yourself first. A big factor of me burning out and having all of those losses was I'm very caring and passionate to help people. And that's why I chose the roles that I did. Loved helping customer service. My first job was a grocery store clerk. Always been helping people, for my entire life. And my parents are that way too. But the problem was I was helping people from an empty tank. And I didn't help me first. And if you take care of yourself first and making sure that you are healthy, you're well, you're taking care of yourself, you're getting plenty of rest, you're investing in yourself, you are educating yourself, you're growing as an individual, what happens is when you help people, you are helping them 10x more than you would have been able to before if you weren't taking care of yourself. So if there's anything anybody takes away from today is like, really take care of yourself first and get yourself at the best that you can be. And then when you help others, they're going to be getting the absolute best you can offer. And if we all do that, imagine, what the world would look like.
And what I love about this is, I think what some people's minds might go to is, take care of myself. So what is that? I got to go on a week vacation, a 2-week vacation, and just leave everyone, say peace out. Maybe. And maybe it starts with the micro actions, like Michael was saying, starting your day off right with exercise, with proper nutrition, with whatever those habits are for you, meditation, journaling, gratitude, whatever that is for you. It starts off with the decision to live a different way, to not feel burnt out, to not feel so exhausted. And then the choice every single day, again and again and again, that's who you're going to be. That's who you're going to be. That's who you're going to be. The habits. And then eventually, and maybe the vacation happens right up front. Maybe it comes in the future. But just know that there's different ways to take care of yourself. And it's really more so a mindset and a decision. And then your reality starts shaping around that. Your calendar starts shaping around that.
Yep. And even at the point where I schedule my lunches, my lunch, it's like, okay, lunch. Yeah. Yep. Everybody takes that. I look at my waist. I'm like, yeah, maybe a little bit less than I should, but it's on my calendar.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to forget lunch. Believe me, my stomach will let me know that it's lunchtime, but I put it on there so I don't put anything else on there. I will block off time to read. I will block off time to exercise. I will block off time to be home and be present and not on the computer working. There's times where it's like, okay, social media, don't, stay away from that, 1 weekend a month. I don't go on the computer or my phone at all, unless I get a text message from one of my daughters. Other than that, it's like, I just step away from it and just be. And it makes a big difference because for entrepreneurs, I know, we're building something and it takes time. It takes longer than we want it to. We want all the things that we want, and keep at it. You'll get there. Be persistent, serve, help people, and get mentoring and coaches from those that have done it, so they can guide you on the right steps to take, and it'll happen. But just be persistent and get your rest, and believe me, it makes a huge difference. So that way, when you actually reach that success level that you were looking for, you're going to have the energy to be able to celebrate.
Man, amazing, Michael. I love this. So we're beginning to wrap up here, and Michael, how can people stay connected with you, and what do we want them to do next?
They can visit me at breakfastleadership.com, and I've got a blog, podcast. On the front page, they can enter just their name and email, so they can get their Successful Mornings checklist for free. So you'll get that, and stay tuned. There'll be more stuff on there as well. I'm constantly updating it within time and boundaries and all of that. But there'll be some updates coming soon on that, and I'm looking forward to reaching out and talking with people that want to prevent boundaries and need some, or don't prevent boundaries, burnout. Yeah, don't prevent boundaries. Yeah, that's not good.
Proclaim boundaries.
Yeah, proclaim. You want boundaries. Boundaries good. Yes. Yeah, burnout bad. Yeah, I got 2 stents in my heart. Bad.
Yeah.
Medication every day. It's a reminder, like, oh yeah, those things. Well, I'm alive, so that's good.
Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming on today. And everyone who listened, I'm sure got a ton of great information and new perspectives on how to have more self-care, self-love, lead ourselves better. I think leadership starts with the self and then goes out, radiates out to others. We're the example other people follow. And thank you so much for the work that you do for your show and dedicating yourself to sharing your message after hitting that rock bottom moment yourself and saying, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I'm not going to accept that as my path, as my reality, as my future. You took control. You took the wheel of your life and chose a new direction. And look how many people you're impacting and helping now. So thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody. Have a great day, everybody.
Awesome. We'll see you soon, okay?
Cheers.
Take care.